Hey everybody, we're learning all about peanuts today. So from the ground to the harvest, we're learning more about this crop and how students can find their place in the industry. So can you walk us through like just the basic, a peanut, like how does it grow, and then show us maybe the characteristics?
For the
that you're
peanut,
looking for?
yeah. For the peanut, it's going to have this leaf, this tetrafoliate leaf. Okay, this is entire leaf, and each of these is a leaflet. So peanut is a very different plant if you are used to soybean and corn, where they just have the flowers and put their seeds in there. So for the peanut, they are very special because they develop the flowers outside, above the ground, right? Like you can see here, they are going to be developing flowers all over until it's harvest. So peanut is not like corn or soybean that they reach a point in the growing season where they start to mature and lose the leaves, etc. Peanut is an indeterminate crop. That means that they can start flowering usually 30-40 days after being planted, and they are going to continue flowering all the way until they are harvested. So they are put in pots all the time. The very special thing of peanut is that when they develop the flower, as you can see there, they don't develop the pot in the stem in the above ground. They are going to dig the peanut, and you are going to find the peanut underground. So you can see here that the flowers are here, and usually they are in places very close to the ground, as you can see in there. So when the flower gets fertilized, it's going to emit, or it's going to produce this kind of a stem that's called a peg, and that peg is going to go underground and it's going to produce the peanut. I'm sure that we can go here. You see that? That's the flower was here, the peg was created, and now if we pull here very carefully, we take out the peanut. So
That's pretty cool.
that's something that people usually don't realize, that the peanuts grow underground, and it's really cool to see. So these flowers are going to go underground, and they are going to produce the peanut underground.
Yeah, so you want to have a lot of flowers.
You want to have a lot of flowers, and you want that all the flowers produce the pegs.
Okay, so like how much longer would these be ready to harvest? Like how tall do they get?
This is the tallest that they get. So peanut, it doesn't get very tall, and these are runner type peanuts. That is what we grow in Alabama. They are called runner type because they basically are creeping plants. So they basically try to cover soil. They don't go very high, and they don't go very high also because, as we have seen with the flower has to be almost in contact with the soil, or the peg has to be in contact with the soil to put the peanut. So if the plant grows very tall, it will not be able to put the peanut underground. So that's why peanuts in general are not very tall. They get pretty low, and basically occupying as much soil as possible and getting the peanuts on there.
So when did you plant these?
So we planted these kind of late for peanut, around May 15, May 20th, and we will be harvesting probably around mid-September, end of September.
Okay, and how deep do the roots go?
So the peanuts are going to be about 2-3 inches, and the roots, they can get very deep. In this field last year, we got roots under drought that they got 81 inches deep. So they get very deep. The ones under irrigated conditions, they can get to 50-60 inches, but under drought is going to provoke the plant to try to grow deeper roots, So they get very, very deep, up to 80 inches, 70 inches
Okay.
around.
And then with each flower and each little sprout,
Yeah.
how many peanuts come off a sprout?
So each flower is going to produce a peg, that is kind of like the sprout what you were saying, and that's going to produce one pod with 1, 2, 3 seeds, depending how big the peanut gets and the variety, etc. That is going to be one pod per peg, so one pod per flower.
Oh, okay. So how about, do you know how many like flowers a typical peanut
Oof.
plant would?
It can produce hundreds, like
Really?
like in a peanut plant, when we flip them and we see, you are going to see probably, if it's a good peanut plant, between 100 to 200, even 300 peanuts, individual peanuts,
And
the
that's
individual
just-
pods.
Yeah, and that's just throughout the season. They'll just keep
Keep producing.
producing the flowers. And
Yeah.
doing the pegs.
So when you get a pod that at the end of the season you are going to find peanuts that they are 1, 2, 3, 3 seeds, and you are going to find some that they are 1 seed, and different sizes. The flowers that they are produced later, they are going to be smaller and maybe immature. The ones that they were produced at the beginning of the season, they might have even gotten lost already in the soil because they drop and the peg broke, and that's it.
So the peanut industry in Alabama is pretty substantial. Although peanuts do tend to be grown more in South Alabama, we do have some in North Alabama. We have about 185,000 acres of peanuts this past year in 2024. That rate varies, but in the past year was a very substantial amount of peanuts. Usually peanuts are alternated with cotton or soybeans, so it depends what acreages have grown of those. We have about 900 peanut growers throughout the state, and it's mostly family-owned farms. So compared to other states, Alabama is generally the second or third largest grower in the country. Georgia is by far the king of peanut production, and they have 900,000 acres. I mean, they have a lot of peanuts. But usually it's between us, Texas, and North Carolina, for the most part. I get to represent all the peanut growers in the state of Alabama and share what their needs are with the federal government as well as with the universities, especially Auburn. And we really do try to get out there and promote peanuts with the public. So a typical day for me can be varied. Yesterday I was in Montgomery at Alpha. I had to do some work over there. I could be on a farmer's place visiting, just learning about what they're doing with their peanuts, if they're practicing some new practices from that Auburn's introduced. I could be in DC visiting with legislators, which I really do enjoy, and I'm glad that the peanut industry has a voice in DC to hear and share our needs. I could be visiting Auburn sometimes. I did that last summer and visited with some of the researchers and saw what kind of research they have going on for peanuts, which is good because we are able to invest money into research with APPA. That's one of our funding opportunities. I often am in other places visiting and sharing information about peanuts. We went to a marathon in December to share about peanuts with the runners because protein, it's a high protein source. We could be at a high school talking to students. It's a very diverse job, and that is something I really like.
Hey everybody, we're here at Lazenby Farms in Lee County, Alabama, and we're here with Dr. Steve Lee. So Dr. Lee, tell us a little bit about where we are and what we're doing here today.
Yeah, thank you, Megan. So this is one of our on-farm trials. We're spraying fungicide with drones at very low GPA and compared to traditional ground sprayer that spray rest of the field. So we're spraying 2 blocks in this field. We're standing on one block and there's another block right next to us. We're spraying either 2 or 3 gallons per acre versus the ground sprayer spray rest of this 120 acre field with 15 gallons per acre. So we are using a lot less water and using an area application method, and we want to compare the peanut crop yield and also the efficacy to control the disease and prevent defoliation. So the trial is still ongoing, and we're seeing comparable results, but partially it's because the drought that is ongoing, which is unfortunate. We want to be able to prove that we can use low volume application in this case and provide growers with more diversified strategies to control disease, insects, and pests in their crop management.
So your goal is to save them money because you're not spraying as much, but you're still protecting the plant.
Yes, not spraying that much water.
Okay.
You know, because one big consideration factor is we can get too wet in the summer. When it's too wet, your ground sprayer, you know, that big old high boy cannot get into the field. They may get stuck, or you can run in, run a lot of gullies, you know, in between the crop. You can cause compaction issue. And also, even in the perfect case scenario, running those big farming equipment takes a lot of diesel. We're pretty much talking about minimum 20 gallons per hour. 20 gallons per hour. So we know how much 1 gallon diesel costs, you know, so that's basically your operational cost every hour when you run those big equipment. When you fly 2 spray drones, large spray drones, we can pretty much achieve similar efficiency in terms of how many acres we spray per hour. And 10 gallons of gas can last all day. So that's the saving just from the fuel, you know. And you will use a lot less water when you spray with a drone. So it takes less manpower to move water around because nobody likes to move water, you know, for a long distance. All we can see in this field is the drought is hurting the peanut. We're not seeing a lot of weed problem in this field, not a lot of insects issues yet, but this is reason why growers need to scout their crop timely to realize that there may be issues at a part of the field with insects, you know, or if certain disease present in some field but not in the other field, because these pests always find a way to move around. Yeah, my specialty is in weed control, so most of the herbicide application has been done, you know, at this stage, because weed control or herbicide application usually starts even before you plant the crop, and it usually finishes around mid-July, you know. So we're looking at some drought-stressed plants, and then the most obvious sign is the leaf rolling over the top of the plant. It happens everywhere. So you can see the bottom of the leaf now is facing up, right? And there's a color difference between the top of the leaf and the bottom of the leaf. So this is why when we drive on the highway, say if you go to the beach, you're on your way back to Auburn, you know, and I see a lot of peanut fields on the way back, and you know, I can see this peanut field looks a little bit different. Instead of being healthy, very green color looking, it starts to look a little bit white and silverish, you know, from the field, and that usually tells you the peanut field is under drought stress.
So, because of the drought, how does that affect you knowing whether or not the fungicide spraying worked?
So drought usually prevents fungus from spreading around. Fungus like the humidity, you know, so you have to have the humidity. And it's better to have the storm or wind, you know, move the spores around. So usually wet years is when we hear most of the people complain about disease issue. So drought is no doubt hurting the crop more, even though we get a little bit benefit from the disease control perspective, but the damage we're seeing in crop yield because of drought, I think it outweighs the little bit benefit we get from the less disease, you know, because right now it's a critical stage that peanuts are filling the pods, you know, so the kernels in the pod can develop normally. If we continue to have drought like this, you will see lower yield, and you can also expect lower quality peanut as well, because aflatoxin is a pretty big issue in drought in a dry year. These drones are used for carrying payload. So a analogy for these drones will be considering them as a flying tractors, you know, like the autonomous mini flying tractors. So they have to haul heavy payload and spray it out, you know. So the purpose of these drones are not for aerial mapping, taking a video, or, you know, for leisure, you know, usages. These are just commercial drones, and they are made to spray chemicals or agropesticide, you know. We also have the ability to put in dry tank so it can spread dry materials. For example, like cover crop seeds, fertilizers, granule herbicide or granule pesticide, you know, or baits.
Yeah.
So that can be done easily with the dryer tank. Yeah. So many people ask, like, are they gonna get bigger? Or can we spray more acres per hour? You know, the answer is yes, at least for the next 2 to 3 years. They're still gonna get bigger. The battery will be more capable, holding more charge. And you see the tank size will still increase for the next 2 to 3 years. You know, at some point, these drones will get too big, and it will be very difficult to lift them on and off the truck or trailer just by hand. So until the drones get to that point, we're still gonna see drones growing bigger and bigger for this type of purpose. These are fairly easy to operate. You do need to have FAA license and the pesticide applicator license from the state. But once you clear all the regulation requirements, you can use these drones to spray multiple type of different crops. So you can just imagine, you know, about the new usages. So it's a very interesting new technology to work with.
Yeah. So it's something students really need to start learning about and understanding.
Yes, I would say that's a really good area to know more about. But it's not just the drones, it's this whole automation, precision application, and increase in efficiency using these type of robots. You know, you will see more self-driving sprayers, you know, self-driving tractors, even small ground rovers doing crop scouting, you know, and then probably a bunch of robots picking vegetables and strawberries and apples or, you know, fruits from the tree instead of people doing it. So let a machine do it, let a robot do it. This type of job is so repetitive, it doesn't need a human. You know? So that's the things that students should pay more attention to, I believe, in production agriculture areas.
Hey everybody, we're here in Headland, Alabama, and we're talking with Chris Balcom with the Wiregrass Research and Extension Center. So Chris, tell us a little bit about what we're going to see today.
Well, it's harvest season down in the Wiregrass, so we're looking at digging some peanuts today, and then later we'll be filming some as we pick some.
Okay, so tell us about the digging process, why it's important.
Well, number one, we've made the crop. It's one of the most important steps in the process because we've done made the crop, and the last thing we want to do is plow them off or pull them off there in the field. So we want to gently go up there and dig up under them, cut those tap roots off. As y'all know, a peanut plant may have roots 5 feet deep in the ground. So we need to cut those off with the plows, go up under them, disturb that dirt a little bit so we can pull those peanuts out of the dirt without pulling them off from the vines. And then we can invert them, let them lay there and dry, you know, usually three or 4 days early season when we've got higher temperatures and good sunshine through September. As we get here in October, November, we got more cloudy days, cooler temperatures. Peanuts may be inverted for a week, 10 days at a time.
And why is it so important that they be dry?
Well, we have to have them dry so that we can physically go in there and thrash them and pick them. That way we can separate out the peanut hay from the nuts themselves. And with those green, they would just wrap up in there and be too tough, and we would break all kind of stuff trying to make that happen. So we let them get dry and thrash them then. It's kind of just like when you bale hay or combine something, it needs to be dry.
Okay. So I guess, yeah, show us a little bit more about the equipment and the digging.
So here, this is a 6-row flex digger. It's something, years ago when we first started, we dug 2 rows at the time, which was just essentially one of these machines, just a third of its size. So we've got plows, blades down here up front. We have to keep those replaced, keep them sharp. Those blades will run about 3 or 4 inches up under the ground. And that's just to cut those tap roots off, loosen up that top layer of soil, and then it will go up these lifter bars to hit the chains to go up the shaker and inverter. As it goes up this shaker inverter, these bars are holding the peanuts. They're hitting these bumpers, hitting those wheels, and it's physically just shaking the peanuts to shake that dirt off of them. And hence the reason why we have to grow peanuts in sandy type soils, because a peanut plant, it blooms above the ground, sets its fruit in the ground. So that's a little bit different from all the other crops. But with that being said, we need that sandy type soil so that those peanuts are stuck there in the dirt. A sandy type soil will just shake off from them, and the dirt will come back out of them on the ground. And as we go over the back of the bars, we hit these drums and the inverter rods, and that will flip them over and invert them and put the peanuts sunny side up there to dry.
Okay. So tell us about the technology, the machines, how it's changed in the years.
Yeah, so over the years, they used to just dig the peanuts and put them right back down on the ground. And then they later went to inverting them and putting the peanuts sunny side up, because obviously you wouldn't want those peanuts back touching the dirt, because then if we was to get those rain showers, then the peanuts would be physically touching the dirt, the nuts themselves. That would be on that wet ground. They would continue to stay wet. It would cause them to mold and rot and then eventually fall off away from the vine. So it's good to invert them and put the nuts sunny side up. And that's been one of the only changes, mainly to the digger. Now we obviously have got here a flex digger, which allows us to go over this rolling terrain that we have here in the Wiregrass area. We have terraces down here, and all the land's flat. So to be able to go over those terraces out there in the field, a rigid digger would just pile up. We couldn't dig with a rigid digger in this particular region with a 6-row. We would have to stay down with a 4-row rigid type machine. But now this allows us to run a 6-row flex digger so they can cover more ground with one person. Labor is always a big problem on the farm. It will probably always continue to be a big problem on the farm. It's hard to find good labor and to keep somebody in the tractor seat to keep everything rolling here. The farmer's doing a number of things himself, trying to keep the farm operation going, from the books to buying stuff and keeping up with getting everybody paid and done, and managing all that and what we need to line up for the next day. But you need somebody else to sit in that seat and keep other things going. So that's always an issue and a problem, but this way, so the machines have gotten bigger over the years to help us cover more ground. We've got fewer and fewer farmers.
All right, so now we're seeing them harvested. So tell us how that all works.
Well, obviously here the peanuts have been dug. These have been here probably about, we've had some warmer 90-degree temperatures here earlier in the week, so these have been here about 4 days, and you can still see a little bit of green in them, but you can hear the sound. These peanuts are a lot more crunchy and tough, so this is the way we need them. We don't need them limp. They're trying to pick them and thrash them. So we need them good and crunchy like that, so that we can separate out those peanuts from the vines. They're really good. So as the combines will be coming behind us, these are 6-row machines, so there's 2 rows for every set of pile rows here. So he'll be straddling this middle pile row and picking each side of him. And they'll just simply feed into the header. They'll go into that cylinder with all those thrashing fingers, and it'll separate out those peanuts and the hay, spit the hay out the back, take the peanuts to the side. They drop them out the bottom of the combine, take them to the side with an auger, and then blow them up with air up to the basket. Okay. So pretty simple process, but it is very dusty and dirty when you're out in the peanut field. These are Georgia 12Ys. You can always tell
Like, how do you know?
that variety because of this little hook bill here right on the end of the peanut. That's a lot more distinct than any other type variety that we have. So you can tell that's just a characteristic of that variety. And like here, you've got a one-sided nut. This is sometimes what happens during the growing season when you get some dry weather later in the season. You may abort out that other nut and may not make two solid full nuts. May just take one of them and take it to maturity. And see how this one is. See, this one's got both. You can see the oil spots on there, sign of the maturity there of the peanut itself. And 12Y is a variety it's been around for a number of years. It's not the perfect variety. It doesn't dominate the market, but it has a good place there in certain circumstances to put it in. It's a long season variety, 150, 155 day peanut, runner type normal oil chemistry with this variety. And it's got a really good disease package, so very resistant to leaf spot from fungal diseases that we have in the rainy season, and very resistant to tomato spotted wilt virus that we are threatened with early on at planting time. So that's one of the biggest threats to peanut production, and we're able to battle it pretty well with that variety.
So there are a lot of opportunities for college students graduating and wanting to enter the peanut industry. I think that a lot of people don't think that there's probably opportunities, but they think that generally a person is graduating in agriculture is just going to be a farmer. First of all, you don't even have to just graduate in agriculture. You could graduate in finance. You could graduate in public relations. There's lots of job opportunities out there. I would say that people that have an understanding of farming is what we need, but we need people that can also promote the industry. People that can do research on the industry. That's not necessarily about peanut production. Right now we're looking at research on how peanuts can be used for animal feed. That's not growing peanuts, that's just how you would make it into animal feed. How you could use peanuts to make plastics. That's not generally an agriculture degree. That's like a biosystems or a different type of degree. So there's all sorts of ways a person with an agriculture degree or a finance degree or anything could become a person in the peanut industry.
So talk about what opportunities, like career-wise, are there for students in the peanut industry?
Well, I mean, obviously we're in peanut country here. This is a, you know, there's about typically 1.5, 1.6 million acres of peanuts in the United States. This year we have a little over 1.7 million acres in the United States. Between Georgia, Florida, and Alabama, this tri-state region that we're in, this southeast corner, we carry about 1.2 million acres of peanuts. So here, right here, we're in Headland. We're, 5-10 minutes from Dothan. Dothan is kind of the hub of the wiregrass as far as the peanut region. Within a 100-mile radius of Dothan, Alabama, there's 50% of the U.S. peanut production within 100 miles of Dothan. So when you think about the manufacturing, not only the farms, the retailers, the chemical sales people, the equipment sales people, the buying points, the shellers, then on to the manufacturers from there. Just a number of jobs that are just like in the peanut industry as well as in farming that are touched, and in such a big, huge area that we're in right here. So plenty of opportunities there for young people. What we need to do as far as a country is to keep these farmers in business. We've really advanced technology-wise and have raised the bar as far as our production levels throughout the years due to research. And what we got to do now is continue to support them and allow them to have a livelihood and be able to get a good enough price for what they're selling to be able to make it and survive and keep those family farms going.
Yeah.